Well, there it is, folks, the long-awaited video why I am going to explain you that Bitcoin might go sideways or down for the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to show you at a few examples. So I would say let's right away dive in. If you can see here, this is the Bitcoin chart on the daily, so big time frame, and these orange lines are the halvings. And right now we just had a halving, and you can see that the price just going a little bit sideways, nothing too special. If we're looking back at the previous halving, that was right here in 2020, then you can see that the time after we actually just went sideways for a pretty long time, 78 days before we eventually got a move to the upside. How long are we now after the halving? Let me quickly check. That is approximately 25 days, so we're not even close. If we're then looking back at the halving before that, you can see that, well, we actually had two sideways periods. One was right here at the halving, and that was very tight, 4 or 5% for 22 days. Then we had a drop, and then you could say, okay, then we had another sideways consolidation period of time, not even 13% for another 70 days before we really start moving higher. So, like I said, that's usually after the halving, but also if you look at the period of time, so really just May, June-ish, that is usually a time where Bitcoin is a bit more quiet. So let's also just start from where we are right now. We are now around May. Nothing too much is happening. So let's look at May a year ago. That was right here. And then you can see, let's take something like this. There you can also see 62 days, less than 10% volatility. Let's take the one from the year before. Well, this was very tight. This was 39, 40 days, 10% volatility in May into June before you had a drop and then went sideways again. Remember, this was the bear market, so you always see a little bit of low volatility at the bottom. Then we go 1 year back again here in May. Here the sideways action, this was full on bull market. Remember, this was 2021. The sideways action happened a little bit later after this drop, but then actually it was pretty long, more than 60 days, 25, 20% depending if you take the wicks or not. Let's go 1 year back. Oh, that was the halving, we already looked at that. And then we're having May here. This is May into June. You can see it's not always exact same day or dates, but here you can also see 37 days, 26%. So, you know, the point here that I'm trying to make is that not only because it's post-halving, but also the period of time. Some traders say walk away in May, or May walk away, come back in September. It just wouldn't be out of the ordinary right now to see some calm price action. And also I have to say this was very unexpected that we went higher. I'm going to tap on that in a minute, but yeah, it wouldn't be all too crazy to now see some cooling off after that major run up to new all-time highs. So what am I talking about? Don't right away jump out of the window. I have made some scenarios and some crazy stuff actually that we have seen. Well, first of all, if we are looking at what could be a possible retrace, and let me just quickly take the halvings out. We have talked about this already on the daily videos a couple times. That is this bunch here of price action, which would line up with a golden pocket 52 to 50,000. You could even say, you know what, I'm pulling here a volume profile. Of course, then you have a value low, high, and point of control in this area. So all of that would be a nice confluence to hit and to then eventually go higher again. And then from top to bottom, you would have a retrace of approximately 30%. Totally textbook. Would we go lower? Then I think really the fun starts, because that would surprise a lot of people. Depending on which chart you're taking, this value area high is a little bit higher or lower, depending on if you take Binance or KuCoin or Bybit. But let's say this is one for now is correct. I'm taking the Bitfinex chart, but that's the one that goes back so much. Then you would have a value area high retest at 46,000 ish, and right underneath you have this whole bunch of trading action, or actually sideways action, here approximately 42,000 to 43,500, where we then also have a golden pocket. Also here you could pull a volume profile, so this whole area could be a area to bounce from. I think it's already pretty deep. I also pulled a fib retracement from the absolute high to the absolute low. Then you have a golden pocket at 38, but I don't think that we will hit that anytime soon. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we will not hit that. This is a weird run as of for now. That shows in a lot of different stuff. First of all, we are taking out the previous all-time high already pre-halving. That is the first time ever in history that happened. In all the cycles before, we went to the golden pocket. You can also see that here. Vloop. You can see that here we went to the golden pocket, and then we came down again to then eventually start the bull market and then go higher, and we also did that in the previous cycle here. But now we took out the highs, so that is weird. Second of all, we had this major, and I am just quickly going to take this out, we had this major support and resistance box that we created, where you can clearly see that the price had support many times, support and resistance once we broke through, then it is resistance here, then we're breaking through, but we are not retesting this box. This left a lot of traders, including myself, on the sideline, because I was ready to long the farm once we get something of a bounce, something of a retest in that area, but we just did not even come close once. So that is very much out of the ordinary that you don't have a retest of such a big area that was clearly support and resistance back in the days once we were there. So that is number 2. Number 3, and that is also something that I was very much surprised of, and I'm going to zoom in now on the 4 hour, is that we have CME gaps, and the difference, or a CME gap, is when the CME is closing where they trade Bitcoin, and then on Monday they open up again, and the difference between the Friday and the Monday is a gap. And usually these gaps can be 1, 2 or 3%, but the bigger the gap, the higher the chances that these gaps will get closed. In other words, that the price will come down to close these gaps and then eventually trades higher again. Here we created a gap around the 20,000 of more than 10%. This is screaming to get closed, but also that never happened, and that was also something that I personally was pretty much surprised about, because like I said, usually the bigger the gap, the higher the chances that it will get closed. So also here in this area right here, I was just waiting for a retest. It doesn't matter what kind of retest this could be, from these highs, could be to close the CME gap, but we're just not getting anything. So again, that was a bit of a surprise. Well, I have talked about this already many times, and I will never get tired of doing so, and that is liquidity, and that is the fact that if you have a lot of highs and lows together, or definitely when they're sloping, then people are longing, and they're putting their stop loss underneath the lows, and that makes a lot of sense. But therefore, when you have a lot of these lows, they're kind of sloping like this, the market maker or bigger participants have an incentive to go lower, because if you want to close your long, you need to sell, so that will then cascade price much lower, but also the other way around. If you want to close all of the shorts, if you want to close a short, you need to buy back, so then you're getting a major move to the upside, and that's also exactly what you see here. Now that doesn't mean that for every area or period where you have a bit of a sloping price and liquidity, therefore you always need to return back, because here it never happened, but this made a lot of sense. Actually, the one that surprised me the most was this area right here. Literally, the people who longed this with 100x long, because the price action was pretty flat. There were a lot of moments here where you could honestly just 100x long. As of today, you could still be in that trade and not getting liquidated. That is very unusual, especially for something that looks like this. I thought it was a high certainty that we would come lower, grab the liquidity, and then to go higher. Also, that did not happen. So you can see that even for traders that have a little bit more experience, this kind of price action has been very much yeah, out of the ordinary. It has really been a surprise, and we should be ready to expect everything. And that's exactly the reason why I'm saying it. We should be ready to expect everything, because if we're now coming down, that it will be then a very first good big retracement, right? Because we did not have really a good retracement that took a longer period of time anywhere in the chart. Yes, this was 20%, and also from this top to this bottom, we're talking about a bit more than 20%. So some people are saying that is the retracement. Yes, that was a good retracement, but I still see people screaming for much higher prices tomorrow already. And this is going to pump. We're going to 75k, going to 85k, 100k next month. I think it's just too soon. I want to see actually more price action to the downside. I want to see the sentiment really being stamped into the ground, and a lot of people getting bearish and eventually calling for much lower levels, because there are a few accounts that are saying, oh, everyone's calling for lower levels. Honestly, I'm not seeing it. I'm barely seeing it. I think a lot of people are still very much bullish. So although we already see a lot of stuff that is surprising, like I said, taking out the all-time high, not really revisiting these liquidity levels, not really revisiting this major support and resistance. And yes, everyone can draw a golden pocket, but what would now be a good scenario for us to go lower? I think that it's going to be a level that is not on my chart. So not a golden pocket, not a support and resistance. Why? Because it's too easy. It makes trading too easy. That's exactly the reason why we never revisited these levels. Everyone, including myself, said there's a high probability that we will come lower to take out the liquidity, maybe into this box, then eventually to go higher. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's one crazy beast. And therefore I think we should be aware of a level that's small, that's maybe not on everybody's radar. And I could now draw in 10, 20, 30 of these levels, like this high could be one. It is just something I'm making up here now on the spot, where you say eventually we're going lower. Oh, we're losing the golden pocket, we're going much lower. Oh, and then suddenly, boom, we're going higher. It could be a weekly level, a daily level, a naked point of control. It could be something, but I think it will be something small that a lot of people are not looking at. Or when we hit it, we come down like this, or actually let me draw it like this. We were coming down, and then people would say, you know what, actually it's just going to be a very small bounce, and then we will continue the downtrend, and then suddenly you see this boom, and then we are shooting off to the races. And then I think actually that a new all-time high will be visited very soon. If you have something like this, it leaves a lot of traders on the sideline. We can even go, of course, a little bit lower, or maybe just taking out this low, where we are really in the middle of nowhere. Let's say we're getting one big dump, then people saying, I'm waiting for lower levels, these, and we're just never getting it. That we do something like this, and then all of a sudden we go very fast back up. And let me quickly give this another color, so that we are really kind of bouncing almost in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of people are just expecting higher or lower. Actually, I have to say lower from this level, because there is just much more confluence underneath us. It would leave a lot of people by surprise, but also, let's be honest, if we're going back here to the bear market and we're looking here at the absolute lows, I mean, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. There is barely any pattern. There is not a good liquidity reason why we stopped here, because there were so much more juicy levels at 14, at 13, at 12k. Still, this was the bottom. Yes, I called it. I'm actually not so interested in tops and bottoms. You can go to my YouTube channel. I made a video, Open Up Your Mind. That's I think the title of the video. I called here for the bottom, because I said this is a scenario that no one is expecting, and guess what? It was the bottom. So I'm looking for something like this, where the chart just doesn't make any sense. We're going a little bit sideways. People are getting bearish. Bitcoin is boring. People are falling asleep. How long is this going to take? Then suddenly we have a few people calling for lower levels. And then out of nowhere, there will be a stupid tweet of Elon Musk. There will be something in the news, something with China, whatever. And then suddenly, boom, you're seeing your blast off. The first blast off will keep people in denial, say, well, we're just going to make a lower high again, and then to go lower again. But then eventually you see that big move to the upside, and then we're already gone for another 10, 12, 15%, and then people are jumping up on the train. That's where the big bull market is taking off. Last note I want to make. So like I said, I'm looking for something that is not so obvious and that not a lot of people are looking at. Last note that I want to make is that I saw something that actually caught my eye. This is the chart of gold, and you see here this blue line. This is 18th of November 2004, the day that the gold ETF got approved. And as you can see, from that day on, gold never looked back again, and we topped out just a bit more over 1900. Now, I'm not saying that Bitcoin will go to a million, but if you would zoom out, then you can see the similarities is that this price is barely having any retracements, that we maybe should not expect these deeper retracements, although I would welcome them very much. But I think the chance of us getting these very deep retracements, I think, are very slim. So yeah, in the next couple of weeks I think we are close to a bottom. What that exactly will be, I have no idea. I mean, who cares really if you get in at 56, 57, 58, if you eventually can ride up. Your neighbor goes out at 80,000, you go out at 85,000. Does it then really still care if you got in at 56 or 57? So don't really care about the exact bottom. Just make sure that you don't stand on the sideline or that you fell asleep once the price really starts pumping 5 or 10% a day, a couple days in a row, because then you are too late and then you really miss the bottom. So yeah, again, look at this chart. Maybe it is a sign that we can see a huge move in the next year or two. So then this will just be a blip on the chart. But for now, I think it's a little bit too fast, too soon to say we are going to 85k. I could be wrong, but I want to see more sideways downwards movement. We just saw it already in time that after the halving it takes a couple weeks. So somewhere in June wouldn't be all too bad. I want to see it a little bit more into price, and I want to see it at a level that just doesn't make a lot of sense to people. And then I would just try to long, take a TP and just let it ride, because it might be the bottom just when I call the bottom right here. If you like the content, guys, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, click the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, share this video with your friends if you think that's useful. And also feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Both of those links you find in the description. Thank you guys so much. See you in the next one. Bye bye.